Welcome back, everyone. What I'd like to do is to hand over to our next presenter. So, long-standing customer of Britannic, Markerstudy, and we've got the pleasure of welcoming Eoin Grace to the stage. Very interesting topic today. So, is the customer phone call consigned to history as a result of Covid-19? So, controversial discussion point. So, Eoin, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks very much. Thanks everybody for coming in and listening today. So I guess really two areas I'm going to cover off today. First of all, how did we as a business react to the COVID-19 way back when, in the beginning of the year, or round about March time? And then, as Jonathan said, is the result of COVID is the customer phone call consigned to history. So we'll see where we go with that question. Just very quickly on the hold on, there we go. Okay, so very quickly, Markerstudy, 3,000 plus employees. We're primarily in the insurance industry. We have lots of contact centers across the various different business areas. But we do have some other weird and wonderful brands associated with the group. We have a leisure industry, which has obviously been quite heavily hit over the summer months, and various other insurance-related businesses. You can see we have an aviation company, a country park as well. So quite a diverse business that we're trying to provide our services to. We've been partnered with Britannic for over 12 years now. We've come on a very long journey, and as we'll sort of go through in the presentation, that sort of long-term partnership has put us in good stead throughout the COVID pandemic. Myself, I've been in IT for 20 plus years, variety of roles across the whole spectrum of IT. More recently, in Markerstudy, I'm responsible for delivery of various web and application developments, and also other innovations such as robotic process automation. So just cast our minds back. I know it could be slightly tricky to do, but life seemed reasonably normal. We were dealing with the same old things back in February. Storm Kira and Dennis. We had the fastest flight from JFK to London. We had a new £20 note coming out. Boris was expecting and it got engaged. We expected a royal wedding in the summer. Life was pretty sort of normal. And then came March, and stuff changed for all of us, really. We had the first unfortunate British death on the cruise ship Diamond Princess, and sort of towards the back end of March, everything turned and focused on a new challenge that all of us have had to live through. No less for us, as I mentioned earlier, we have contact centers, not quite as drab and boring as this picture, thankfully, but we have a lot of contact centers. We've got over 1,000 ACD users across the group. And very quickly we realized that we were going to have to rise to the challenge of getting these guys to work from home. Now, we probably started somewhere in the region of maybe 6 or 7 days before Boris announced the lockdown was coming. So we had kind of 1 foot ahead of the game, but still it was a big task. How were we going to get 2,500 computer users, of which 1,000 of those are ACD users, working from home, in some locations there, absolutely on people's couches, lying on their beds, in the dining room, and some were actually working remotely, not quite on a beach, I wouldn't have thought. And on top of that, we also had the same challenge as a lot of businesses had, getting people sort of they were going on furlough. So how are we going to deal with the demand on the rest of the business? So the solution, fortunately, was already pretty much there. So we have worked, as I said, with Britannic and Mitel for a long time. We actually already had the teleworker solution set up, licensed and ready to rock for our BCP plan. Up till that point, we probably only tested it to 150, 200 users. And it was sort of snow days that we'd really used it for. But working with Britannic, we identified essentially that we could potentially get these users working from home as if they were in the office, by way of a very small PoE device, bit of network wizardry pokery, a quick user guide, and suddenly we're able to get our users working from home. Did we have loads of spare Mitel phones hanging around? No, we didn't. They had to take those phones with them. Did we have a load of PoE switches hanging around? No, we didn't. We had to source them. Britannic helped us with that as well. And suddenly within a week, we've got 1,000 ACD users working from home. That obviously was matched with our other technology stack in Citrix, where we could get our users working on their home PCs, or again, just taking devices from the office to get them working from home. So the other thing that we had in our back pocket as well for non-ACD users, our sort of back office workers, was to use the MyCollab soft phone. So again, something that we had been testing and trialing with for BCP reasons, but never really had to do it in any sort of anger. So yeah, within a week, we had pretty much got everyone working from home that needed to be working from home, which was a massive win for us. It wasn't totally plain sailing, it's got to be said. We certainly experienced some challenges. Obviously, the availability of hardware and getting users to connect that hardware up was a challenge. But actually, our biggest challenge came with the networks that our users were working on. So we were reliant on everybody's home broadband. We had a number of issues with a certain provider who had certain settings within their routers, which we had to get users to ring up that provider and get settings changed. And the other big challenge was actually, at the same time we were sending our workers home, lots of school children were also going home and having to do schoolwork online from home. So bandwidth was a real big issue. I think one of the winners out of the COVID thing is probably the broadband providers, because they've all upped their broadband from sort of bog standard broadband where possible up to fibre. As there's sort of competing challenges, I know I quite often have to shout, holler down the hallway for my two boys to get off the internet when I'm on a VC, just to make sure I've got the bandwidth in order to let me carry on my job. But there's been loads of positives. The staff are constantly feeding back around sort of the need or no need to travel. We've been able to provide all of the functionality and reporting. Mitel Ignite has been a lifesaver with regards to wallboard or not having wallboards. The difference has been pretty similar. They log on in the morning, they do the work, they log off in the evening. And all of our other sort of resilient services like call recording and stuff like that is all still there, again down to the hosted solution that we have with Britannic. And as I say, probably the big challenge was home broadband maxing out on bandwidth. But other than that, this has been a real big win for us. And a lot of that is again, I go back to the partnership that we've had, the technical partnership and commercial partnership that we've had with Britannic. They were that sort of forward thinking that we've done together has really paid off, and it was a big win for us. The board were couldn't believe how quickly we had managed to get the whole group set up working from home, including telephony. So yeah, a real success story from us, and a lot of that stems from the technology and the partnership we have with Britannic. So what next? No rest for the wicked. We probably had a few weeks of getting our workers working from home. We probably then had, I think, casting my mind back, we went into Easter holidays, so we had a little bit of a lull. everyone got back from their Easter holidays, and it's right, okay, so this is the new normal for the foreseeable future. What next? And we started, obviously, along with a lot of other businesses, looking at our cost base. How can we reduce our costs? How can we make sure that we are going to come through the back of this lockdown? And that's really where we sort of go on to the second part of the presentation today, around our digital acceleration. So how do we recover, and not only recover, how do we drive forward in this pandemic, this outbreak? A few stats, and actually this is one of the questions that is on the poll. I had a quick look before we came on today, and there's a few people have answered the poll. Certainly the majority, although there's not a high number of people who have responded yet, but certainly the majority have said that they've seen a little or a lot of digital acceleration since the start of COVID. And actually a Gartner survey says here 69% of board directors say they have to accelerate their digital business. So we've been talking about digital for a while now, but quite often there's a lot of talk about these sorts of things, but actually who's doing it? And people are doing it in sort of little silos here and there. But actually, for me, this has been a real eye-opener. This has been the real sort of move forward. A lot of people said, oh, we could never work from home on the scale that we have been working from home for the last 6 months. So a lot of mindsets have changed, and no less in the boardroom. A few other quick sort of stats, if you like, for this is an interesting one. So 87% of people think that digital will disrupt their industry. Not sure which particular industries were surveyed, but only half of them are actually ready for that disruption. So that's an interesting one. And obviously, more and more so now, people are saying those that are taking that digital journey and get ahead of their competitors, they're more likely to achieve their business goals than their peers. Probably the most pertinent one that I've seen over the last few months is this one. So this is obviously head of Microsoft saying that Microsoft actually saw 2 years worth of digital transformation in just 2 months during the start of lockdown, which is quite phenomenal. And obviously, it's not really a wonder if your CEOs, CIOs, CFOs are seeing these sorts of comments in the press online, where they're sort of saying, well, actually, crikey, we don't want to be left behind here. We need to up our game. And hence where the 69% of boards wanting to increase their digital transformation or accelerate their digital transformation. And really, that takes me on, I guess, to the pointed question at the top of the slide deck around replacing the customer phone call. So we started. I'm going to talk about one particular business area, Auto Windscreens. This is one of our group businesses, and we kind of started their digital journey in earnest probably about 14 months ago, when we took the web journey or the web booking that we did for Auto Windscreen. So typically we take about 25,000 bookings a month, be it for replacement glass or chipped glass, and pretty much the majority of those were done on over a telephone call, speaking to an agent in our contact center. We looked at the web journey and felt that the web journey actually, if we got it right and we got it as a good customer experience, we felt that customers would more likely prefer to take on a web journey than have to get on a telephone call, wait and queue up and speak to somebody, go through the IVRs, etc. So we put together a really, really good web journey. And there was kind of this perception, and I was probably as guilty as many, of sort of saying, well, actually, if the web journey is that good, people will just naturally use that. They won't want the phone anymore. So the customer phone call will just be sort of pushed into the corner, and there might be the odd sort of person who wants to use it. So that was our sort of ideal. We could get everyone using our web journey. In reality, what actually happened was we hit a few roadblocks. Signposting. So it's people are just used to using the telephone, and actually our telephone number was splattered everywhere. It was all over our website. It was all over our partner websites. If you wanted to make a claim or get your windscreen replaced, everywhere was phone numbers. So interestingly, we had that as an initial challenge. Our phone number was plastered everywhere. So how do we replace that with an online booking? So signposting was a really important lesson for us. And even when we feel that we've gone a good distance with the signposting, what we realized was that people still use the phone. That it's kind of a cultural thing, I think, in this country. People are used to picking up the telephone. I know I heard Gil talking about it earlier. People just default to picking up the telephone, regardless of all the technical automation and all of that sort of thing that you put in. People, that's our default culturally, I think, in this country. Well, certainly for a large part of the population, less so for the younger generation. But generally, again, for distress purposes, purchases, which sort of like if your windscreen's cracked, you need to get it replaced because you need your car. People just want to pick up the phone and get instant access. So our drive for this great web journey, where we felt that actually, in a similar way to Amazon, if we just got rid of the telephone number altogether, people would stop ringing us and start using our web journey. We came to the conclusion that actually the customer telephone call will be around for a long time. So yeah, no worries for the contact center just yet, but carrying on that digital journey, we sort of looked a little bit further along our journey or our digital transformation, and sort of came to the conclusion that there's enough technology out there now where a phone call can still be digital. So we might not replace the phone call with digital media such as a web journey, but a phone call could still be digital. So what is digital to us at Markerstudy and Auto Windscreens? So we're a very sort of simple model of what digital looks like for us, based on the 3 pillars. We look at our ecosystem. So this is around platforms. This is making sure that we've got a modern web architecture. We can use microservices. APIs is one of the buzzwords, and integrations with our partners and our suppliers. So ecosystem is really important, that we make sure that we have an ecosystem that is capable of providing a digital experience. Automation, again, we heard from Gil earlier on automation, but automation is such a broad area now. So IVR, again, we talked about, we've had IVR for years, but more intelligent IVR, more automated IVR, voice IVRs, bots in the way of web chat bots, voice bots, all the sort of multi-channel automatic SMSs, WhatsApps. And as I mentioned earlier as well, sort of one of my areas is actually robotic process automation. So where can we use automation to replace those sort of standard repeatable tasks? And then looking into the future, things like virtual assistants. So we've all got Alexa or Google or Siri. So how can we use that kind of technology and IoT and things like that in the future? So automation is quite a big piece for us. And then self-service. So our web journey was one aspect of self-service, but there's other areas. So we have a post booking tool where people can go on and rebook or cancel their appointment, make payments. So we feel that you need to have a blend of all of these in order to really fulfill the complete digital strategy. As we're all hearing day after day, data is the key driver for that. So for all of this to happen, we need to have a decent data solution, an analytic solution. So that's our foundation of our digital strategy. So when we look at the phone call, we looked at it and we sort of we broke the process down, or journey, value chain. Lots of people have different things, into real sort of meaty chunks. So how are we going to take on this phone call, and how do we make that a potentially digital phone call? So this was a very sort of simple breakdown, if you like, of our current phone call. So there's 6 steps there, from when the call comes in. It's all very manual. We take the call. There's nothing exciting there. There's probably a bit of IVR. We do a bit of data collection, ID and V. We take the information of what they need to have replaced or fixed. We book them an appointment, we take the payment, and the call is over. And generally that at the moment probably takes somewhere in the region of 10 to 13 minutes, depending on sort of the complexity of the call. So that's where we're at the moment, or where we were back in at the start of COVID. We are now looking to go on our journey with the telephone and look to hand some of these off. So first one was a bit of a sort of a no-brainer, really. We've been doing automated payments for years and years and years. So how can we start to break these chunks down and move them into when I say digital, it could be automation, self-service, and or using our platform to help drive that digital progression. So right now we're in the phase around ecosystem. So we're looking to replace our current sort of fixed booking system with a much more modern web solution, which uses APIs and microservices. It can integrate into various systems, integrate into with Mitel, with Redbox, using APIs. So this is where we're at on our journey at the moment. So by the end of this month, hopefully we'll have a viable product that we can put into the contact center. So essentially we can, up the front end, we can replace the need for the contact center to answer the call before we've collected some real core information. We can then pop that straight through to the agent, and we've taken out a chunk of that call by using automation up front. And then the journey continues. We look at ways that we can maybe identify damage. Now, interestingly, again, sort of Gil mentioned earlier, those that were on his presentation, he talked about, are we getting rid of the contact center? No, we're not getting rid of the contact center. We're not getting rid of the phone call. The phone call still exists, and there will be a lot of points through this journey where we need to fall out of the digital offering and into a more traditional telephone offering. So for example, damage details. So if it's a windscreen or a chip or windscreen replacement, they're fairly standard, over 80%. And that's kind of what we're working to, the 80-20. We're going to get a lot of this standard stuff that we can use automation for. But the side glass, the sunroofs, the rear quarters, all of those are specialist, and we need experienced contact center staff to help our customers through that journey. So we're not looking to replace every single call with a digital, just a majority of those. So collecting damage details, and obviously in the long run, we would look to obviously then offer them appointments via over a voice, or maybe via text, or find some other method of providing them with the appointment booking solution, which will then in the end create this complete digital telephone call for a good chunk of calls, but not all. And the other calls where we need experienced, well-trained contact center agents, they'll be there picking up those value add calls, the ones that need the extra bit, the ones that are challenging, will be picked up by experienced members of staff. So I mentioned a bullet point up the top there. Be wary not to create too much downstream effort. So this is a note to myself continually when you're on this digital journey, and some people call it various things, downstream effort. Some people call it digital friction. And this is where, by putting in a digital solution here, are we creating a lot of back office inefficiencies further down the journey, down the value stream? So it may be that we create a great front end customer experience here, but we've created additional tens or hundreds of additional activities further down the manual activities further down the chain. So I guess that's a word of warning as we go on the journey, is just be aware of the impact that you may have when you're creating your digital platform. that you're not creating inefficiencies elsewhere in the business. And really, that's kind of our end game. That's where we want to be. It's a journey that we're going through, as I say, at the moment. Hopefully, sort of breaking into the summer next year, we will get to that end goal, and we'll feel that we've come on that digital journey. One of the interesting stats that I didn't put up today was that people, 7% of people or businesses say that they've come to the end of their digital journey. Or the digital transformation, which I find very strange. I understand the stat, but for me, this is an ongoing thing. I think, again, referring back to Gil earlier, he talked about this continual improvement, continually finding new ways. And as we continually see new technologies come onto the market, we're talking about AI and all of those machine learnings, we will be able to continually improve the customer journey, the customer experience. So, this is kind of our first step. This is getting our foundations in place, making sure we've got the right ecosystem, and the right technology in place. But the technology is continually evolving. And in the same way, referring back to our COVID journey, we had gone on that technical journey with Britannic, and it put us in good stead for something that we didn't see coming. We want to make sure as a business, as a group, of companies, we're on the front foot with our digital innovation and transformation. And I think that brings me to the end of the presentation. I don't know if Jonathan's back with us.
Thank you very much, Eoin. Yeah, brilliant presentation, very insightful. There's a lot of points to take out of there, and I think one of the comments to me was how mindsets within the boardroom have changed. I think, again, talking to other clients, it's not just a mindset change, it's also expectations have changed with it too. I think organizations have seen how quickly we were able to mobilize and move to home working and provide the tools to support the remote workforce. So what it's done is it's actually brought to the fore some of the opportunity and agility through technology. So that will probably further fuel the digital journey that we're all on. Absolutely agree with the points around the importance of digital transformation and getting on board with the journey early. It'll be one of those that don't do it, unfortunately, are going to find it harder moving forward. So yeah, I mean, it's accelerated pace of digital transformation. The Microsoft quote I was reading this morning that Zoom now has 300 million users worldwide, and it's now the 14th most popular website anywhere in the world. Look at where that's come from and how quickly people have adopted and embraced that technology. So these Absolutely. These are the sort of speed paths that we're on, the curves that we're on. And I think, for me, what's really useful out of the presentation, I think, really great takeaway is that the journey mapping, the as is to the to be, and it's not a case of having to do everything day one. There's a lot of incremental change and improvements that can be achieved through an agile approach. So pick particular areas where quick wins can be achieved, understand it, test it, get the benefit, and keep moving. So yeah, really great presentation, Eoin. Thank you very much.
No problem.
I'm just having a look if we've got any questions from the audience. I won't read out the one about which broadband provider it was. Asking you to
it wasn't that one, by the way. But
it wasn't that one.
Okay. I'm sure they're all very similar.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think that was it was most definitely the challenge, wasn't it? I know that when we initially went into lockdown, I have been working at home, had the capability to it for many years, and I then had these extended discs that just stopped working, and I had to reset everything across the house. I don't know if things were being throttled back in those early periods to try and cope with demand, but yeah, it was about ultimately getting people connected and and dealing with the panic of things don't work and people aren't used to the to the troubleshooting and how to support it. So I know from an IT professional perspective, it was a lot of work really squeezed into a very short space of time to help people.
Yeah, but it was I think IT people still thrive on these challenges, and when they're laid down, people respond very quickly. And when you've got a solution that works and you can rely on, it makes a big difference. The broadband thing, I mean, it just out of our hands. As I similar have worked from home off and on, but never normally when my kids were here. And with them working online, and then when they weren't working, they were on their YouTube or whatever sort of thing. It was a few fraught moments in the household when Zoom stopped performing for me.
I'm sure, and I think again, one of the takeaway points is plan for the unforeseen. So a lot of the work that we had done together, looking at moving to the cloud and building and testing in support of business continuity, that laid the foundations to be able to rapidly react and pivot, which we need to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I can't see any more questions coming in. That brings us to the end of the session. So thank you very much, Eoin. Brilliant presentation. Really appreciate your time today. And what we'll do is we'll now be taking a break. The afternoon session starts at 2 o'clock. So the first presentation will be from Alex Nicol from BizView. So that's our keynote of the afternoon. Sorry we can't have lunch together and press palms and catch up, but please do take the chance to visit the booths, and of course, if you've got any questions or comments or need any help, keep typing into the event stream, and we're here to assist. Okay, thanks very much, everyone. Catch you later. Cheers. Bye bye.